Hey, welcome to Rust Revival Garage. My name is Tim, and I'm back on the 1968 Pontiac LeMans and trying to finish up this rewiring project. Got a few little things to take care of and then test it out. So let's get to it. Okay, so if you're doing a rewiring project and it comes with a book, especially the Painless wiring kit that I've been using, I cannot stress enough how important it is to read the book and read it thoroughly. I did not do that in a couple of cases. One of which is something that it was kind of actually a cool surprise, and that was involving the horn relay. I knew that I was going to probably have to replace my horn relay. Let me show you what it looks like. So this is the old horn relay from my harness that I took out, and I figured, well, that one looks kind of crappy. Horn never did work, so maybe this was part of the problem. Okay, so what I did was pick up a new horn relay, and only to find out that the horn relay is included inside the actual new fuse box from Painless. So I looked at it, but must have skimmed over it. But down at the bottom of the new fuse box that came with it, it already includes the horn relay, and the wiring went out to that. So I'd actually already hooked up my horn relay. I don't need to do anything with that. So the other thing I did not think about when doing my alternator wiring was the voltage regulator. And so what I did was after I was done, I thought, hey, that voltage regulator is still attached to the firewall and I've got nothing going to it. So what happened was I didn't read the book carefully enough, and I just followed the section on the wiring that, for the alternator that looked just like mine, which in my case was the GM, I think it's the SI series, the SI10. And so I saw that in the book and I thought, okay, I'll follow that. And I did the wiring straight from the harness to the alternator and skipped the regulator. So what I should have done was continue on flipping through a couple of pages. So here was the descriptions for my particular alternator. This is the one that I've got, the 10 SI. And I followed along with that, thought everything was good. But yeah, going through a couple of pages, it says GM externally regulated alternators. And so I thought, oh no, this is a problem. I've got nothing hooked up to the regulator. So what I did was I went through my old harness and I pulled this off. I detached all the original wires, and then that way I can use this clip. And that's one of the things we're going to do next. See if I can get the wires that are in there now, hopefully still be able to use them basically. But yeah, I need to have the red and white wire that are now going to the alternator. I've got to have them go to my regulator and then have the other wires come out and go to the alternator. Okay, so I've taken my red and my white wire out of the alternator and removed a little bit of the tape, but what I'm really going to be doing is then attaching it into the voltage regulator right up here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 in this voltage regulator. I'll put these two in one side, bring out 2, and then run them down to the alternator. So yeah, nothing like doing something twice that I should have gotten right the first time. Okay, so if you actually have your voltage regulator up by the core support, you're going to be running, you would have probably run those wires down to that and then maybe to your alternator. But in my case, it's over here on the firewall. So yeah, what I'm going to be doing, I don't think I'd have enough to go from here to back there. Yeah, obviously I won't, so I'll have to do two new wires again, but I'm going to cut these, put terminals on these, and put them in that little plastic piece. So according to the book, white goes in first, then red, and then white and blue come out. This goes in like so. So that means white is first in here, red, and you gotta make sure you get it to click in there, and we're good. Now I just need to make another white and blue 14 gauge wire come out to go to the alternator. Okay, purists, don't tell on me, but these are supposed to be white and blue wires. I've got blue and pink. So my white wire is the one that's going to go into number 2, and that's going to go into the R on the alternator. My blue wire, which is my blue wire, is going into the F position on the alternator, and that goes into this first one here. And then number 2, which is supposed to be the white, which will be my pink, and I'm gonna tape them up so you can't see them. But it's supposed to be blue and then white, and then that will go to the R and the F on the alternator. And you can see it here. The blue is the F, and you can see it here, hopefully. The blue is number 1. That's going to go to the F on the alternator. The white is in the number 2 spot, and the white one is going to go to the R on the alternator. So R and F. Here it is here. So there's an R on this side and an F on this side. Yours may be similar, but one's the exciter wire and one is, I can't remember off the top, the sense wire. And so you might have to look that up on yours, but that's where the voltage, it goes from the voltage regulator to these 2 positions on the alternator. So there I've got all 4 wires in. I can plug this into the voltage regulator. Remember, this is the blue, this pink one is my white one. Shh, don't tell nobody. All right. Okay, so my pink goes to R, and my blue goes to F. There we go. So now I am hooked up to my voltage regulator, which I have no idea if it works or not. I think it does. I was charging last year when I was running this thing for the first time in 24 years. So a little bit more taping to do there, but you almost can't even tell that I used a pink wire instead of a white one. One of the first 2 videos was the fuse box installation one, I think. I did not install my flashers, basically because they kind of stick out a little bit, and I knew I was going to be moving a wire all around. So it's one of the other things I want to do is get both of these in, and should be good to go there. The other thing I need to do is tighten up the fuse box itself. If you happen to see the original fuse box installation video, I left it loose again because I knew I was going to be moving wires around. But I really want to get that all nice and tight in there and make sure that the wires are not being cut by the metal from the firewall. All right, so hopefully you can see 2 little slotted sections on each one. That's where the turn signals go in case you haven't installed yours. That's where mine go. I can't do it with both hands. Or I'll need both hands to do it, but that's where they both go, and I'll show you after I got them in. So there they are up in there. And now I just need to tighten up this bolt and this bolt right up there. Okay, got the fuse box all nice and tight. Everything's in place, even did a little bit of extra taping. I still want to clean up all of this stuff. The one thing I've learned is, and it's kind of late for it, but as you're doing your rewiring, the more tape sometimes you do, the more you're going to have to undo it and take it back off again because something didn't go right. So keep that in mind. I'm not really going to do any like finish taping until this thing is up and running and everything is good to go and I don't see any problems, because this tape is really hard to get off. Okay, one of the last wires that I need to take care of behind the dash is the wire that's going to my heater control. So this is literally the last one. I did a new wire harness from this point back to the heating elements and everything back here. This one, I think there were 3 wires that came in to control this, and I haven't really, well, I haven't looked terribly hard, but I haven't really figured out what all was involved. I was looking at the old harness, and it looked like there were 3 wires there, pink and blue and something else. But anyway, the only one that I really have left from the fuse box is this, and this is the heater switch 1 wire that comes with it. And so what I figured I would do is put a terminal on this one, plug it in down in here, and pretty much hope for the best. That's all I can really do. So I've got that one on. Just going to go ahead and plug it in down in here, and we're good. So that's done. When I started this process, I did not have a tach. I said, well, I'm just not going to worry about setting that up. However, I have a tach now, and I put it into my instrument panel. As you can see, I now have a tach, and so that's kind of the one last thing I really need to do for the wiring. My purple and white wire can go to the tach here, and then I've got the 12-volt source and what I'm assuming is a ground for that. And then I can go ahead and put this back in. And I also said I wasn't going to put in the instrument cluster, but because it's grounded to the dash, I'm not going to put in the dash pad, but I am going to put back the instrument cluster in here. For the instrument panel lights to work, this needs to be grounded through the bolts here. And so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just put it back up in order to test everything out. Okay, so I've got the wire set up that I can connect to the back of my tach. The purple and white wire from the engine start charge video that I did is still out there in the engine bay. And what I did was I actually wrapped that one up because I didn't think I'd be using it. So what I'm going to do is unwrap that and run that over to the coil. See, this is what I had stashed down here underneath the fender well, or just on top of the fender well. And this is why you don't necessarily want to get rid of all of your wires until you're pretty sure you're not going to need them. My purple and white wire is in here somewhere. Right here, I believe. Nope, that's the compressor. Anyway, the purple and white wire for my coil is right there. And this is what I'm going to cut open and run it over to the distributor so that my tach should work. Okay, so I've got my purple and white wire. I think it's number 923. Got it cut, got a terminal on the end, and then now I just need to plug it into the negative side of my distributor. And this should then send a signal to my tach. That's all plugged in. Again, I should have rerouted it so it was behind this wiper motor wire, but again, we are set up. So yeah, the last thing I need to do is change out some of the bulbs. This one, for example, is the bulb that is sort of the brake light bulb that also provides some light to the instrument panel. This one is for the, goes back here behind this, and it's for the heater controls. I need a new bulb for the one that's in here. Like I said, if you're in there, get a decent quality bulb, because you don't want to have to go back in and change it if you find out, hey, it doesn't work, or is it not working because it is an old bulb or you didn't wire it up correctly. So the only thing I did not order were those little 194 bulbs. So I need to get some of those before I can put my instrument panel back in. But other than that, the spaghetti craziness is done. I mean, yeah, this doesn't look great. This is a little piece that goes up above my instrument cluster, and it's going to hold all these wires in place, like the ones that go off to the radio, the ones that are coming across and then running down to my gauges, the heater wire wiring, and then the light that goes over to the door jamb for the dome light. So that will keep that up out of the way. But yeah, the craziness is gone. Most of this is stuff that will be plugged into the back of the dash instrument cluster or the dash itself for the ignition switch, headlights, washers, wiper, and all that kind of stuff. So still looks a little crazy here, but my God, I'm really happy with how this has gone, how it's cleared up. It's not as crazy. And hopefully I'll be able, if I do have any problems, I'll still be able to reach up from underneath and make adjustments. So yeah. Okay, I did a little slight paint touch up. The keys had really worn it out over the years. Nothing great, but just wanted to touch it up a little bit while I've got all this exposed. Okay, so I'm replacing this bulb. This one is sort of one of the brake light bulbs that has it's kind of interesting. This actually has a fiber optic line that runs all the way around and provides light into, so there's no light bulb inside the glove box, but it does send light down the line into the glove box. So this one is the 194. So I've got a replacement for that. This one I had said, I was thinking it was 194. It's actually an 1895. Or at least that's what all of the books say. The problem is the 1895s have these round bulbs. You can kind of see that. They're more round shape. This is more of like a tube shape. So one of the things I picked up was the 1893 to replace this one. And then I'm pretty much good to go to put the cluster back in. Now I'm looking at, I took it out of here and I'm looking at this and it looks like it says 1816. And I did see some 1816s. But let's see if the 1893 works in there as well. Okay, so it looks like the 1893 is just a little shorter, but the base is about the same size. So I'm just going to go with this one. This is more than likely original. Well, maybe. I don't think it didn't seem like the dash had ever really been out before. Does fit in there. Wipe off all the finger grease. Okay, I've got all my switches back up. This is going to go in the back of the instrument cluster. This is the ignition switch here, wiper motor here, lights here. Then I've got to make sure I can put in my speedo cable once I get it back. Put this one bulb in. I've got this other bulb in back here. I've got the 3 bolts I need to put this back in to hold the wires up. But I've only got one of these. I've lost this one. Oy. Okay, here's some things I'm not going to do, and I'm probably going to kick myself later because I didn't do it. But I'm not going to run any wiring to the cigarette lighter. I'm just going to cut this cable off and seal it up. Don't really have a need for it. I know a lot of people use it to put in like a charging system, USB or something like that, but I just don't ever really have the need for that. The other thing I'm not going to do is install the lighting for the tach. Mostly because there are dash lights on the back that are supposed to illuminate all the gauges already, and that one will just kind of stand out like a sore thumb, I think. So I'm not going to hook up that wiring. I'm going to hook up the tach itself, but not the light. All right, let's get this up here. And oops, let's get this up here and start with our switches. I guess I can go with the ignition first. All right, we're putting this back in. There's sort of a D shape here, so it's like this is the side of the D. That's got to match up. And then the pieces that are going to go back in, this is going to actually screw onto the ignition switch. This is going to slide in. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a little gold spring right there that this is going to push on in order to go in. So I'm going to make sure I've got something sharp that I can push in there to allow that to go all the way in. Let's see if I can get that on. If I remember it correctly from taking it off, this screws on first. Has nothing to do with the actual tumbler itself, but that's in there nice and tight. Now let's see. Should go in there. There's a flat piece here and a flat one down in there. All right, let's see if that's it. No, because I'm not pushing on the spring. The spring is a little farther up. Maybe with the key. No, I didn't need a key to take it out. All right, I'll play around with this for a bit and see if I can get it to go in. All right, with a little key work, did manage to get it in. And yeah, the only thing I can say is make sure there's a flat plane on the bottom of the tumbler, and that's got to match up. And the only way I could get that in was to line up the two. There were two extensions on either side of the tumbler, so that was the only way it could go in. I put the key in and turned it around a little bit. That slid it all the way in, and it's not coming back out unless I poke in there and poke that spring to release it. So that's in. Oh, I don't know what is going to hold the lighter in. All right, let's see if I can figure this out. Oh, I think I figured it out. It wasn't in correctly at the time, but this piece here can slide through this side, connect through the back to this, and maybe that seems too small. Oh, wait a minute. But there's nothing really holding this tight to the cluster, to the dash. Well, basically what I want to do is, this is your lighter piece that actually you don't need to install, but this shell is what you can actually unscrew and take it out, then slide it through. But again, that's not really going to pull it all that tight. All right. But yeah, that's getting this back in. Actually, looks like when I put the bolt through, that's going to hold that down a little better. So I think I should be good there. And I've got it on this side, and I can just nothing really holds this on though. All right. Okay, next up I've got the wiper switch, and that's going to go in here. It's got a little tiny ring with 2 indentations on it, and the indentations go out to allow you to loosen and tighten. And I'm wondering if I do the bezel first. Yes. There's a little tiny piece that rises up on this, and a little tiny hole in there to keep it from turning. Oh, go, but there is no way to get my fingers down in there to tighten that up. Gonna need a screwdriver. Alright, gonna play around with that for a while. This is fun. I don't think I have it on straight. Alright, that only took me 3 years to get it lined up, but I basically used needle nose into each of the 2 notches. Getting it threaded on just right is a bear, but without marring it up too bad, I finally got it started. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up and put the washer button back on, which I can't find now. But anyway, I'm going to get that on there nice and tight. All right, that one is on. Now the same with the light switch. This one has a little notch right there that fits into right here, and we just have to slide this in. The only way to get this to stay and to work when you slide it in is to push on. There's a little button right here with a spring on it. You've got to push that in, slide the this in, the rod all the way in until it catches and hooks on this little piece here. So that's pretty much the only thing that's holding the light switch up. This also has a little notch on it too to go into that same spot. All right, gotta actually put the bezel on first, then the little whatchamacallit, and then we slide that in. We push this spring down, we push this spring down and slide it in. There we go, lights in, wipers are on. And yeah, I'll slip the lighter in afterwards, and gotta get these knobs off the radio. Before I attach my speedometer cable, I'm gonna shoot it with a little white lithium grease, and probably never been done before, so hopefully that'll keep it nice and lubricated. If I can get it down in there. Okay, now I need to plug in this, and I think there's only one way it can go. That's a wire I don't need. This is my tack wire. It's going to go there, and this light bulb is going to go in. This light bulb's going to go in here. Just don't have enough room for right now to show you. But last look at everything, I think that's all. So yeah, that bulb, speedo cable, and we're good. I might have to do the speedo cable once I've got it in there. Got the light plugged in. That's on top. All right. Yeah, now I just need to go back in and put the screws on the back, and boy, did I just jack up the dash. Wow. All that work for nothing. And yeah. Perfect. All right, so that's going to do it. I got everything basically set up. Now I just need to test it. That's going to be in the next video. So subscribe if you can. That's hard to say. Like the video if you got anything out of it. Leave me a comment down below if I missed anything, or if you have any questions, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, I want to get my starter hooked up, and then I can put the battery in and we can go around and test everything, see what I got wrong, see what I got right. So that's going to be coming up in the next video. So thank you very much for your patience. This has been going on for quite a long time. But yeah, and thank you very much for watching. We will catch you next time.